Hello and welcome to Doctor's Orders here at the Chrissy B Show. I'm Dr. Rob Hicks. Today we're going to be talking about hay fever. This is an allergy to pollen that comes from weeds, grass and trees, and it can make life absolutely miserable for people who have hay fever. Hay fever is incredibly common. Around about 1 in 5 people will suffer with hay fever at some time in their lives. And if you're not a sufferer or you don't know any sufferers, well, these are the symptoms that hay fever causes. Sneezing is very, very common. A runny nose or that feels blocked a lot of the time. Itchy eyes that are always streaming. Some people suffer with headaches or tiredness as a consequence of their hay fever. And you also get itching sometimes in the ears, in the mouth or in the throat. People say how they want to reach into their throat and give it a good old scratch. Now you're more likely to develop hay fever if you've got other allergies, so for example asthma or eczema, if there's hay fever or allergies in the family, or indeed if as a young child you're exposed to cigarette smoke. Now although hay fever can make the summer months really quite miserable if it's not controlled, there are ways to get on top of it so that you can enjoy your summertime, you can enjoy being out with friends. And if you're taking school exams, then if you treat your hay fever, you're likely to maintain your grades, because there is scientific evidence that says that for those people with hay fever who don't have it well controlled, they can actually drop a grade when they do their summertime exams. So how do you go about keeping the hay fever under control? Well, pollen is the trigger, so you try and avoid it as best you can. Now, of course, it's not possible to completely avoid it, but you can reduce your exposure to pollen. When you are going outside, check the pollen count first. If you see that the pollen count is high, then you might actually think again and say, well, I'm going to stay indoors with the windows closed today. If you do have to go outside on a high pollen count day, then try and go out in the middle of the day, because the peak pollen times are first thing in the morning and late afternoon, early evening. When you do go outside, think about wearing a pair of wraparound sunglasses, rather like these. That will protect the eyes from the pollen getting in and triggering the allergy response. You may also want to consider using a nasal barrier balm that you just smear around the inside of the nostrils, and that can catch the pollen before it gets inside the nose and triggers the allergy. If you are spending time indoors, try and keep the windows closed, and if you're going to vacuum, then use a vacuum cleaner with a HEPA filter. And if you're going to dust, then damp dust so that you're not dispersing pollen from one place to the next. And if you've got pets, when they come in, make sure that you give them a wipe down, because of course the pollen comes in on their fur. It also comes in on your clothes and in your hair. So when you do come indoors, strip off, put your clothes into a plastic bag, take them to the washing machine and then go and have a bath or shower and wash your hair, so that you're not dispersing pollen around your home. Just a word of warning, if you are going to strip off just inside the door, make sure if you've got a glass door you move to the side so that your neighbours aren't going to catch something that they don't want to really see. So in addition to taking all the steps to try and reduce your exposure to pollen, there are of course medicines available that can prevent the symptoms and indeed relieve the symptoms should they arise. So there are eye drops, there are nasal sprays, and of course there are antihistamines. So if you've got hay fever, or if you know somebody who's got hay fever and it's really not being controlled very well and it's really not allowing you to get out and enjoy yourself, then do have a word with your doctor. Seek their advice on what the best treatments might be for you and your hay fever. And that's Doctor's Orders.